First, as I always do, I just really want to thank Brendan and Fiona McKenna and Kelly Staples for putting on this event. February in the athletic department is the busiest month of the entire year. We have all of our sports, all of our winter sports are still going, and the spring sports have started. So it's definitely, we're all moving at a really, really fast clip, and they always do a fantastic job. And this event is so important to us, as I always say, because we are going to hear from some of our very best coaches and some of our very best student athletes, and you really get the insider view on what's happening with our programs. But we also have our very best team around the team. And as I walked around the room today, I just noticed what diversity we have in this room from people who support our athletic program. Again, we have a tremendous number of our really, really loyal sponsors here today, and we want to just say thank you as we always do. We couldn't do what we do without your support. It makes a gigantic difference to us. So just please know that, and thank you for being here, but most importantly, thank you for supporting our student athletes and our coaches and our programs. We also have, we have deans here, we have faculty members, we have administrators, we have staff, we have our athletic staff and administrators, and it really does create what we call all the time that team around the team. And I say that all the time when we come here, but it's really important to recognize all of you that are here, because the people are what make Princeton athletics, really what make Princeton great are the people, and the people that surround and support Princeton athletics are vitally important, and I know our coaches will talk about that too. So many of you have heard me talk about how our coaches and how our program, we talk about getting 1% better every day or 2% better every day. It's very hard in this business to not focus on results. We're all constantly looking at scores and looking at how we did against so-and-so team. And so results really matter, but our focus is on the process and trying to be great at everything we do. We're really focused right now on the training load. We're focused on recovery. We're focused on what we eat and what we drink. We're focused on how we sleep. That's a really important part of what our coaches focus on these days. We're really looking at all those physiological behaviors and psychological behaviors that lead to peak performance. We're really focused on mindset. We're focused on how we work together to build positive and productive teams. So with that idea of getting 1% better, administratively we do the same thing, and we always reflect on these luncheons, and we've changed things quite a bit over the last few years to try to get you to the student athletes as quickly as you can. So with that and the idea of getting better, I'm going to talk less and let them talk more. So during the panel, I may add my 2 cents on some of the projects that we're working on and some of the things that we're focused on, but I'm going to let them really get right to it. Before we do that, though, I always have the distinct pleasure of being able to announce our PNC Achiever, Student Athlete Achiever Award recipients, which is really amazing for us. We're now in our 4th year of doing this, and it really gives us the opportunity to identify 2 student athletes per season who have excelled not only in their competitive landscape, but in their overall achievement as a member of the Princeton University community. Each season, these students are nominated by their head coaches, and finalists are selected by a committee of senior athletic administrators to be recognized among their peers and at various events like this one. So again, we really want to thank our partner PNC, and we've got a bunch of members of the team in our first row here, and they've just been tremendous partners in this effort to acknowledge really the exceptional effort of our student athletes, both on and off the field. So this season, our Student Athlete Achiever Award winners are Isabel Hirschberg, class of 19 from the women's squash team, and Matthew Kalazik, class of 20 of the wrestling team. So congratulations to our winners. And this is always really fun to be able to sort of give you all of the accolades of these amazing student athletes. And we all do, I say this all the time, we all leave feeling a little bad about ourselves, but it's okay. We're acknowledging them. So I'm going to start with Izzy. Izzy Hirschberg is a native of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She's a senior captain and a 4-year varsity starter on the Princeton women's squash team that is currently ranked number 2 in the country. Izzy has won more than 50 individual matches during her Princeton career and has an impressive 13-1 record this season, including 2 3-0 victories this past weekend. She's a terrific student, majoring in the Woodrow Wilson School of International Affairs while working towards a certificate in Spanish and Latin American Studies. Izzy applied these academic interests firsthand, participating in the Princeton in Spain program for cultural studies. While at Princeton, Izzy has served on the Why We Serve board through the PACE Center, which aims to share and promote the importance of community service within the student body. Again, getting to our mantra of achieve, serve, and lead. She really represents that value. Izzy has also served on the board of Community-Based Learning, which is an initiative that connects the academic work of students with local communities. Through this program, she tutored students of the Cristo Rey Church as a translator for the Latin American Legal Defense and Education Fund. As part of her senior thesis, Izzy is partnering with public schools to develop a program that encourages children to make healthy choices in the lunchroom while making such subsidized food options more child-friendly and nutritious. For her work, Izzy was awarded thesis funding from the Barfield Fund for Scholarship and Community Engagement. In the words, and this is really critical, in the words of Coach Gail Ramsey, who we'll hear from later today, Izzy has been a leader in our squash program since the day she arrived on campus. Her greatest quality is her ability to bring the group together through her unwavering support and loyalty to her teammates. So Izzy's hitting it on all levels, and we're really proud to give her this award. Congratulations, Izzy. All right, so recipient number 2 is Matthew Kaladzik. Matthew is a junior mechanical and aerospace engineering major from Bellbrook, Ohio. While only partway through his junior season, Matthew already ranks as one of the greatest wrestlers in Princeton program history. He's a 2-time All-America, finishing 3rd in the nation at last year's NCAA championships, the highest finish for any Princeton wrestler since 2002. A year later, Matthew became the first year All-America in program history. So as a freshman, he became an All-American. He's also earned first-team All-Ivy honors and captured EIWA championships in each of his first 2 seasons. He's having an extraordinary junior year to date, becoming the first Princeton wrestler to be ranked number 1 in his weight class in several decades. His 16-1 record has him currently ranked number 2 nationally, and he was recently named co-captain of this year's team for his all-around leadership. Over the holidays, Matthew became the first Princetonian to win a Midlands individual championship in more than 50 years of the event. I would be remiss to tell you that Matthew's teammate, Patrick Brucky, who we're going to hear from later, became the program's second Midlands champion an hour later, which was great. On the service front, Matthew is a leader when it comes to the wrestling team's participation and partnership with local youth programs. The coaching staff will tell you that very few of our wrestlers for a very long time have been more generous with their time and energy than Matthew, whether that be teaching technique or just simply fostering relationships and using his platform to really educate through athletics. So when I think of our core values of achieve, serve, and lead, Matthew is a perfect example of a student athlete who's really hitting it on all fronts. So in the words of Coach Chris Ayers, Matthew changed the status of Princeton wrestling from the moment he arrived at Princeton. He has the highest of individual goals, but also has a team-first mentality. He represents all that Princeton student athletes can achieve with the right mindset and with the right discipline. So congratulations, Matthew. We're going to do a picture now. And the coaches, too. So if your coaches and the Fantastic Achiever Awards. Joe, you're going to come with us? Oh, all right. Who's going first? Okay, so first we have Chris Ayers, our tremendous wrestling coach. I will say, Brendan, do we have the bios on? We always put the bios of the coaches on the table because we could spend the entire lunch talking about all the accolades of our unbelievable coaches. So please take a look and read when you have time and hear about all the amazing things that all of our coaches are doing. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Coach Ayers.
really treat to be in this room with so many different people who support us in so many ways. We joke with our program. I guess we don't joke, but we talk about an ecosystem where we try to impact wrestling at every level, from the youth up to the Olympic age level, and really use our sport as a vehicle to teach life lessons and, to be behind education through athletics. We're all in, but there's a larger ecosystem around all our sports, and I think this room represents it well. So I thank all of you for the support. We couldn't do what we do without you. So a little on our team. I'll try to be brief because I know you want to hear from the athletes. I've had an interesting journey here. Reading my bio, I get to always read that I was 0-35 my first 2 years here, which were really, really challenging years. But since that year, since those first couple years, it seemed like every year we'd do something that maybe hasn't been done before. There'd be some milestone that would just jump our program up a little bit more. This season's been a little funny. It's like more like every week we're doing something that's jumping up the level. And I really am proud of this team right now. Culture-wise, I was talking with Trebby. We're in a really special place. I think it's one of those teams where, I could step away from the program for a couple weeks. You should cover your ears, Molly. I could step away for a couple weeks, and the team would just be still firing on all cylinders. A couple highlights: we beat 8th-ranked Lehigh for the first time in a really long time, which is good. We beat UNC at home. They were ranked 15th at the time. We've been ranked as high as 9th in the country, tournament team-wise, and we're currently ranked 20th as a dual meet team-wise. So doing a lot of good stuff. Unfortunately, this past weekend we lost to Cornell, so we couldn't dethrone them. They now won 18 Ivy League championships in a row. But I vowed that, and the team will back me on this. I vowed that during my time, I'm never going to lose to them again. So I'm making it public. You heard it today. That's it. It's over. So we're going to have a really good team next year. We don't graduate any seniors that are starting, so it's basically the same team with some really good freshmen coming in. And just getting to the culture in our conversation with Trebby and how that culture has changed, and it's such a different room to be in from where we were. I kind of joked it was, to get it going, to get it to happen, I had to have one kid buy in, and then from there, 2 more kids would buy in, and that's why it took so darn long. But now we have a guy like Pat Bruckey, who's a sophomore captain, maybe one of the best leaders I've ever been around, and he's been amazing in, taking our voice along with his own voice to the team and getting really complete buy-in. So we couldn't do what we do without Pat and what he's done in his leadership, and obviously Matthew is all in it as well. So so again, thank you guys so much for coming here. We really appreciate the support, and go Tigers.
Thanks so much, Chris. With that, we're going to turn it over to our women's basketball head coach, Courtney Banghart.
For coming. It's always fun to put on dress clothes, even though I have a profession where I'm not supposed to have to do that very often. But anyway, this is a great opportunity, I know, to have a spotlight into our program, and I think to start, which so much of the program can be seen through my eyes and through our players' eyes, and so little can be seen through our assistant coach's eyes. And I've got a new staff a bit this year, and to say that my role is as overrated as their role is underrated in terms of Carrie Moore, who heads up our recruiting and works with our guards. Addie Messier, Princeton's first ever unanimous player of the year, is back, finally. And we have both adding Cinnamon Lister, who unfortunately with where we are with our numbers, she's now also just a practice player for us. And then Jess Imhoff, who does a lot of our video, and it's just, it reminds me when you're standing in these rooms of how important it not only is the team around the team, but your team in your team. And so to my staff, I stand up here on behalf of you all. Thanks for all your really great work. And also, this year has been a really unique year, and it's been, longer. I was telling Gail before I came up here who's with squash that it's no more unique to a long career, right? But I haven't had a super long career. So it's a year where we've had 12 MRIs. We only have 14 players. So basically everybody has had an MRI at some point throughout the year. We've had everything from brain to wrist to knee to ankle. We've broken multiple bones. So we've got this really unique kind of blend of cinnamon practicing for us. And so the consistency piece is a little bit difficult to maintain. But as I look out at the competitive leadership of our senior class, particularly who's here, Sydney Jordan and Gabrielle Rush, they are two guys that have stuck through it. And they're two of the only kids that have started every game because they're still standing. So that's pretty awesome. And so, the course of a long season, we're practice 87 today. I can tell you that with those two seniors, the future is, for this particular year, is going to be bright. By the law of averages, we will at some point get healthy, and we hope that's by the Ivy tournament. I'd be remiss not to mention, obviously, Bella Allery, who is the humblest, most gentle star there is, but she's a star. And for those people that haven't had a chance to see her live, there will be very few of her talent level in our league, unfortunately. But fortunately, she's also amongst the most coachable. So her progression as a player, Bella, you are so much better than you were when you got here. Keep getting better because we're all along for your ride. And then also this past weekend, we celebrated our alumni weekend. And as I told our alumni, many of you, these are the biggest names. We had all 4 of our players, the Princeton's Players of the Year here. We had just so many alums that care so much. And as I told them, there's a lot of things to be proud of in our program in terms of what's been done. The thing I'm unilaterally most proud of is how many alums come back, support, fight for, encourage, and show up for this program. And as I look out at this group, there's a lot of people who keep showing up for events like this. And it shows the right thing to the current team, that life's about showing up. So thanks for being here. I also told our alums, as I say to our own program, that you hope that the Princeton basketball program is one where you grow roots to know where you came from, but you also develop wings so that you can fly. And when you think about the players, that what they're doing now in their life, my guys are flying, but they know where their roots are. So we're playing for another Ivy title. It's a 4-team race. It's a much more balanced group this year, in part because Princeton's not quite as dominant. Everybody else is about where they always were. And so it's basically us, Penn, Harvard, and Yale. It will probably be the 4 tournament teams, and it's really anybody's game at that point. And we have an Ivy League tournament, as you know, with the men at Yale to end it. So should be a fun group. We hope, as we say, we get healthier, not less so. But regardless, we know we'll have Sydney and Gabrielle Rush because that's what they do. And Bella keeps getting better. The future's bright. So again, thanks for your help. Bella will speak better than me. We've never played pig, so it's yet to be determined who's better. But we probably will never play either. So there's that. Thanks very much.
I'll pay you later for that. It's great to be here. It's been a while. I can't actually remember last time, 10, 15 years ago. But fortunately, this is a great season. We have an amazing group of women who work exceptionally hard every day in and day out, and prepare really well for 14 matches that we play across the season. I'm not sure if many of you have been to a squash match, but there's one. I got one. Somebody, thank you. We play 9 people. I have a 14-person squad. First to win 5 wins. You win the match. This year we finished our season just yesterday at Cornell. Defeated them 8-1, and we're 13-1 in the dual match, second in the country, and unfortunately second in the Ivy League. Sadly to say, Harvard has. We often beat teams. We had 2 close matches this year. Trinity away, reading period right before Dean's Day, the exams start up, and also Yale, same scenario, 2-3 days apart. They both have 2 glass courts, and we don't have any. That's playing like in a fishbowl, so it's really difficult to pick up the ball until you really get used to it. But we managed to squeak by both of them with a 5-4 victory. Those are the 2 closest matches we've had so far. But most matches we play Stanford 7-2. We beat Drexel, GW, Virginia quite handily, and we lost 0-9 to Harvard. So it was sad. It was a very sad day for us in Tigerville. And but they are an outstanding team. They have, a tremendous depth. Izzy took two out of the 3 games off of her opponent, which was our closest match. But we're looking forward to the next couple weeks when we have 2 weeks to prepare to try to come back and find a way to pull off a big win at the National Team Championship. We probably will face Trinity again. It happens to be at Trinity again, unfortunately, but hopefully we'll be able to make a couple tweaks and make sure we end up on top there, and maybe it'll lead us into the finals against Harvard, and you never know. That's the thing about athletics, you never really know. Generally, I just want to make a note how, you heard Izzy, my thoughts about Izzy, and she represents our team in a way that includes everybody, and that allows us to get the best from them and their dedication and commitment. So I have 4 amazing seniors. I'm sorry to see them go. I have 4 tremendous freshmen, and my middle classes are also equally as talented and determined to do well. So I think in the next couple years, I might come back and say, we're number 1. Thank you.
Thanks, Gail. Batting cleanup as part of today's program, we've got men's basketball head coach Mitch Henderson, class of 1998.
Outfit when they were talking about Chris in particular. This is, Chris, you don't realize, but this is so everybody forgets that we got swept this weekend. Don't I look nice? I really, there's a lot of really fun, familiar faces here for me as well, and I think I really want to spend most of my time talking about Richmond. He's fun to embarrass because it represents so much of what we're all about. You can also take a really good joke. When you become a head coach, or when you start to take over, you're an assistant most of the time, and you're trying to identify the values and the things that your program should stand for the most. So you write those things down. You hope they're the right things. And for me, right away, I played here for Kirill, but for me it was work hard every day. And these sometimes can be the things that you were as a player. Work hard every day, make each other better. Don't pat yourself. My mom used to always say, don't break your arm patting yourself on the back. So don't be too happy about what you're doing. And then get better every single day. And this has been a really fun team to coach. We went into the weekend with sole possession of first place. We came out of the weekend, not a great weekend. We're in second in the league. But we've had a really fun non-conference schedule. We had our first road win over a ranked team at Arizona State. We beat number 17 Arizona State, so we're down 1 with 25 seconds left in the game. And Richmond is going into this season a career 40% free throw shooter. He's shooting 80% from the line now. And Arizona State has this curtain of shame. So you're 12,000 people and they're screaming at Richmond. And they open up this curtain right underneath the basket. And there's like somebody dancing like this, like in like a full white suit. Drains them both, and we end up winning the game. But if I could just talk about those things as it relates to Rich, when in the recruiting process you sit down with families and you start to go over the things, usually for what I do is most of my guys love hoops, but they're generally somebody we're recruiting, they can potentially looks like a favorable person for getting into school. And I'm talking to Richmond's mom and dad. Richmond has 2 brothers and a sister. One of the other brothers is a senior here. And they're all very sharp young men and women, just like Rich. And I start to launch into my story about basketball, and Mr. Araguzzo stops me and says, Coach, let me just stop you right there. And let me also say, I've been doing this for 20 years. This never happens. Never, ever happens. And this is a good thing, and especially from fathers. Fathers, especially with their sons. He said, let me just stop you right there. In our family, all we care about is academics. And Richmond goes like this. And everyone was together on it. And for 2 years, Richmond mostly cared only about academics, right? And this is why we love them. But a lot of things happen. Richmond has size 19 shoes. He's grown into his frame. He spent the summer working locally at Rutgers and spending time working on his game. And he learned to love to play. His braces came off. He smiles a lot more. We have a thing we call and twos, where you're running up and down the court, groups of 5 with no ball, and it's really a great thing to do together as a group. It's a great natural press break. And Richmond's running by about 3 weeks ago, right before we played Penn, in front of all the coaches. And he's running as fast as he can, and he runs right by us, and he goes, "Meow." And it was the best thing ever. So I'll finish with this. This is one of my favorite teams to coach ever because of Richmond. If I were to say I want my team to embody one person, it would be Rich. I want my kids to be like Richmond, the way he handles himself. So this weekend, first time in my career, a Yale basketball player was talking to me during the game. He was whispering sweet nothings to me during the game. And he got a technical foul. But right before that had happened, he was on the free throw line. And I saw what he was doing the whole time. And he also scored 35 on us, which was painful because he was, and you know you're the coach of Princeton when an alum emails you and says, "I can't believe the Yale players behave with such churlishness." You know. Richmond, that means deliberately rude. They're wondering. And it was, they were so rude. But I was saying to the official, because during the free throws, the official stands right next to me. And it's the only time they have to stand right next to you. Usually they rotate away from you, which infuriates me after they make calls. I don't know if they do that for you. They do it on purpose. I'm always like, don't you know that makes me so mad? So I'm standing next to the official, and I'm looking right at this guy who's in the midst of scoring 35 on us. And he's leaning over, and he's talking to Richmond. And he's going like this, and he's talking. And first of all, in the Ivy League, you really shouldn't be talking any crap, right? That's not really our position. But he's doing it, and not even an inch of acknowledgement from Richmond that he's talking to him. Richmond's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. He's just getting ready for the box out, and this kid's right here, right in his ear the whole time for a minute straight. And I'm talking to the official nicely and saying, "Look at that young man right there." Talking to my young man. Said it a little more aggressively with my teeth like this. But Rich, in front of the whole group, I'd say this in front of the team all the time, he's a star of a human being. And as an alum, as anybody in this room, you should be very proud of Richmond and the other 4 student athletes here. It seems to me like embody a lot of the similar characteristics. Thank you.
On? Good. Okay. Well, thank you again, coaches, and thank you all. This should be fun. So relaxed and just kind of take it as it goes. Just to start, why don't we just have you guys introduce yourselves and tell us what your major is and where you're from, obviously what team you're on.
Richmond Iriguzo, men's basketball, from Trenton, New Jersey. I'm a junior, and my major is ecology and evolutionary biology.
I'm Bella Allery. I'm a junior from Bethesda, Maryland, history major, women's basketball.
Hi everyone, my name is Morgan Steelman. I'm a junior on the squash team, and I'm majoring in the Woodrow Wilson School with a certificate in the Global Health Program.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming. I'm Patrick Bruckey, sophomore, wrestling captain from Chicago, and I'm not as tall as those guys over there.
Okay, Patrick, keep the mic. We'll go down this way. So, Coach Ayers has he has a book, and it's entitled The Higher Standard. And from the first time that I met with him, he presented me with this. It looks like a thesis, right? It's bound, and it has all of his values and principles in it, and sort of his whole approach to life and to wrestling. Mm-hmm. What does a higher standard mean to you?
It's a pretty literal. It's a pretty literal lifestyle. Basically, you treat yourself with the highest amount of respect that you possibly can, because you get out what you put in. And this whole manual, it's about 60 pages of our entire coaching staff's words and thoughts on being a successful person and a human being. And it really just teaches so many life lessons about character. I would say character is the
And I think,
biggest thing.
when I talk to Chris, and I tend to leave the room wanting to go run through a wall, as I imagine that, he's just so excited about everything that he's doing, and he does everything really well, right? It's not just one part of his job, but he really focuses on being great at everything. And I know he passes that on to you. Is there something, do you have an example of a time when you use that same higher standard in the classroom, or has it changed your whole approach or mindset to life?
One example is probably hard to find, but just like the higher standard manual, it teaches you to live a daily life, so it's the daily sacrifices, the small things that you don't really account for. They just become second nature, where you really do start to embody it, and at least try to. And, if you can shoot, you shoot for the stars, you might hit the moon, type of thing. So you can, kind of get there.
Awesome. Terrific. Thank you. Okay, Morgan, I'll go to you. You can just pass it on there. So we talk all the time about achieve, serve, and lead during your 3 years here. In picking one of those three pillars, what resonates the most with you, and how have you sort of lived out those values?
Right. So with my experience on the squash team, I feel like leadership has probably been the most defining characteristic of our team. From the moment that I came to the squash team as a freshman, I got to observe a lot of different leadership styles, and that kind of ranged from the very assertive captain who has outlined all of her expectations and is constantly checking up with you. And then there's kind of the more silent and maybe more reserved, like underclassmen who's kind of leading by example and showing up to practice every day, putting in their best effort. So being able to observe those different leadership styles and also being able to observe our coach Gail has allowed me to define my own leadership style. And my experience on the squash team has also challenged my leadership style. So when you're with a really tight-knit group of girls, you're constantly being challenged and you're being questioned. So you have to redefine what you think your leadership style is, and I think that's probably been the most impactful learning experience for me.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to stay on that same sort of path. So, Bella, you've always been a leader on the court, and you've always, I'm sure in all your athletic endeavors prior to getting here, you kind of dominated, right? You're always pretty darn good. Yeah. But so this year, you've had a tremendous career so far. Now you're in your junior year, and you come back and you have an injury that you have to deal with. And you and I have talked about this at other times in passing in the gym, but I just was really just so impressed by the way you were leading when you weren't playing. And I want to sort of hear from you on that and how you approached your leadership when you weren't playing during the first part of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I was obviously devastated when I got injured and knew I'd be out for however many games. And I actually, once I got off the phone with my doctor, I started writing a list of what good could come out of this in a time where I thought I was just nothing good could come from it. And the main thing I thought of, I looked back at my team culture and the leaders that have come before me. And while I was getting recruited, the women that recruited me, and I knew that everyone could make an impact on my team, whether they were, the star on the court or they were on the bench cheering everyone on. And my leadership style my whole life has been to kind of put my head down and work and lead by example and just play. And I obviously couldn't do that with a cast on my arm. So from the sideline, really learning to cheer on my teammates and, lead from the sideline, use my voice, be as active of a leader as possible when I couldn't actually be out there impacting the game in ways I was used to was really different, but it was really, really important in my basketball experience. I think it's made me a lot better player.
And did it help you understand the importance of the whole bench and the rest? And I'm sure you recognized that before, but you probably saw it from a whole different angle.
Yeah, I mean, the energy from the bench really does impact the game in ways that I knew being on the court that the cheers from my teammates on the sideline made all the difference. And when that was my job the entire 40 minutes of the game, I knew that I really needed to bring my best game even when I couldn't be on the court. So it really did teach me a lot about using my voice and being a cheerleader for my teammates.
Awesome. You did an amazing job with that. So Richmond, that was quite an intro from Coach Henderson. I'm sure not the most comfortable thing for you, being as humble as you are. But when we were thinking about the questions for you, that exactly what Coach Henderson talked about was what I wanted to ask you about, was how you have become so dominant. I mean, you were always a great player, and we did a nice piece on you last year, I remember, with your brother, and it was really fun. But this year, you're just dominating, and so I wanted to hear what you did in the off season to sort of be such an impactful player this year.
Well, I think it started in the spring for like a whole team, and for me personally, it started with my one-on-one meeting with Coach Henderson in the spring, and we sat down and we analyzed like what went wrong in the past season, how we could fix it. And one of the things he told me was, you have to become more invested in the team, or like you have to become more invested in like what we're doing. And for me, it was hard. It was like a hard pill to swallow, because you never want to think of yourself as not fully team-oriented. Like we talk about the team, be a tiger. You never want to think of yourself as that way. But then as soon as I accepted it, I was like, okay, like I'm going to work hard for my team now. Like the whole spring and then this summer, I'm going to make sure that I'm better, that I can like lead the younger guys that are coming up, like the talented sophomores that we have now, and the even more talented class of freshmen. Like we knew that we had like a void in leadership aside from the seniors, and we had to fill it. So for me, it started with that mindset. And then after that, it was so easy to like follow the examples of like the seniors, to like keep working, and like all the coaches that were willing to work with you anytime. It was just so easy to get better.
So you were working on the mindset and the sort of physiologic. I mean, I saw you in the gym a lot this summer. You were here a lot every moment that you had, and you really have gotten stronger and really worked on all aspects of your game, sounds like.
Yes.
How are the academics going?
I mean, we're at Princeton, so But it's about staying above water. Like you always like seeking like all the resources. We have so many resources, especially for us student athletes. There's like so many people you can turn to, and like we talk about the team around the team. Just no way for you to like put yourself in a hole, and like there's always so many people around that you can always turn to. So.
And you've been using those resources.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Can you tell us what the Yale player said to you? I'm just kidding. You don't have to. I'm just kidding. I'm sure that would not be G-rated for this.
Well,
this
actually,
event.
it was. So, I'm Nigerian, and he's also Nigerian. But see, in Nigeria, we have different tribes. Like I'm part of one of the major 3 tribes, the Igbo tribe. I don't know what he is, like what tribe he belongs to. But he was speaking a dialect to me that I didn't understand. But I knew it was Nigerian. I was like, is he really? I was like, just. But yeah, that's what he was doing for that minute during free throw. Yeah.
Awesome. And just last question for you is just when you were taking those foul shots at Arizona State, what was going through your mind? Like how did you block out the people jumping in white suits?
I just went back to my routine. So like everything I was doing, I just said it in my mind out loud. So dribble, up, breath, shoot it. And, that's our routine that, like, I practice many times. I come up with, like, one of the assistant coaches, Chris Mangilia, and I just stuck to it when, like, things got loud and I had to block out. That's always effective for me. Just, like, say the steps out loud for me. So that's what I reverted to when it got time.
Awesome. Good. Okay, so now we'll go back to Patrick, I guess. In the spirit of Valentine's Day this week, what's one thing that you love about Princeton and being a Princeton student athlete?
Oh man, well there's a list for sure. I would have to say just the people and the relationships that we've been able to build in my short time here. I'm absolutely, it's such a privilege to have the people around me, not only in my, athletic realm, my coaching staff, my teammates, but, the student body and the faculty. It's just, I'm very, very thankful for every opportunity I have here. And, Valentine's Day, I guess you could say Princeton's definitely in my mind.
It's top on your list. Yeah. We won't tell your girlfriend. Can everyone in the back hear? Can you guys hear okay in the back? We want to just do a mic check, just to keep the mics up close to make sure that everyone can hear as we go. One last question for you, Patrick, or not last question, but question for you. I forgot what my question was going to be because I got so excited about Valentine's Day. Has anyone ever seen a wrestling practice? Raise your hand if you've ever seen the wrestling team practice. So it's a grind every day, right? I mean, talk a little bit about how you get yourself after a full day of classes, pretty intense classes, and you come down there and it's like gladiators, right? I mean, sometimes you have to wrestle your coaches. That's one of the weird things about wrestling is the coaches actually wrestle. So maybe talk about how you get yourself every day up for that.
I almost took down Pat on
Almost.
You almost did?
Almost. Blindsided me.
What is he? Is he in your weight class, Chris, or he's?
Oh, no, he's not in my weight class. Be careful. He could hurt me. Is he like a bear with like a rabbit? I have to tell him, I have to say easy Pat because my ribs are crushing.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Looking from the outside in, it's probably just, you're like, what the heck is going on here? Because you just see, a bunch of college kids literally fighting with a whistle somewhere in between there.
Yeah.
Me and Matthew Kolodzik actually joke, we're both engineering students, but we kind of joke that we beat our minds up when we go to the classroom, and we're totally exhausted, and then our break from that is beating our bodies up,
Yeah.
So it is kind of a trade-off, but yeah, going to practice every day, it's just like, in the simplest sense, you're just kind of preparing for a war.
Yeah.
Your body doesn't last very long, but that's one of the best parts about it is, it's really rewarding in that sense. You get into awesome physical shape and you build a bond with the teammates around you because you guys are going through such a rigorous training phase together that, I fully believe that the bond you build with teammates in such a difficult scenario is the tightest one you can
Awesome.
have.
It doesn't smell very good in that room either.
Absolutely not.
It does not. Morgan, tell us something you love, but then also something that has really been the most challenging part of this experience for you.
Okay, well, I'll start with the thing I love. In the spirit of Valentine's Day. So I think my teammates have probably been the best part of my experience at Princeton, especially within my own class. So my class actually only has 2 girls, myself and my teammate Madison. And so she's become one of my closest friends, and she's my roommate, and she's the person I go to when anything goes astray. And I also feel that way about all of my other teammates as well. They're people that I feel like I can rely on all the time. And when you have that 4:45 practice built in every day, you always know that those girls will be there. And there's a lot of consistency and reliability in having that every day. And then one of the challenges, I'd say, is probably balancing schoolwork and athletics. When I first got here, Gail can probably attest to this, I was a little bit crazy and I got stressed out all the time and I really wasn't sure how to manage everything. But as time has gone on, I've kind of started to get the hang of it, and it's been really fun to watch as our freshmen and our sophomores are starting to get the hang of it too. And so it's a challenge for everyone. Even when you're a senior, you still don't have everything together, but working through that is definitely possible, and it makes being an athlete much more rewarding.
So would that be the advice that you would give your freshman self, as to what would be the advice?
Freak out less. I think, I mean, the workload hasn't changed for me. It's been the same since I was a freshman. Like, I've had lots of lab classes as a pre-med student, and then balancing with that with Woody Woo has never been easy. But I think it's all about your attitude and how you approach it. You can let yourself get stressed out and let the tide kind of run over you, or you can kind of rise above it and take the steps you need to make it work for you. And if that means going to McGraw every night or seeking help or asking for help, which can kind of be uncomfortable for a lot of people, you have to do it. And I think it's all about the attitude you have towards doing that.
Awesome. Okay, Bella, I'm going to turn to you. The same what you love and what has been really challenging for you, and what advice would you give to your freshman self?
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with you guys. I think what I love most is the people, but I'll go a little different route. I think my coaches have been just so impactful to my Princeton experience, and I would not be the player I am today without them. I mean, if you saw me freshman year, I was I think like 2 inches shorter for one, and I'm way stronger, way more skilled. I don't just shoot outside the arc. I have an inside game now, and
Pretty good. It's a pretty good one. Yeah.
but I mean that's all owed to my coaches. They have really just gotten me so much better and care so much about each player and their skill development. And I could have gone to other schools, but I knew that coming here, players really do get better, and that's all due to the coaches. So that's one thing I really love about this place. A challenge for me, and I guess this goes along with what I advise to my freshman self, just be confident and don't worry about the last play, worry about the next play. Freshman year, sophomore year, I was kind of a head case. If I missed my first shot, I don't think I'd want to shoot another shot the rest of the game. And I would really just kind of hang my head on mistakes, and that's just not the player I want to be. And so this year I really tried to turn that around, and I think I learned a lot from my experiences freshman year in terms of confidence and knowing that if you make half your shots, it's actually pretty good for basketball. Yeah. So just being comfortable with that, being comfortable with mistakes and moving on from them. So I would definitely tell myself to breathe and worry about the next play.
Awesome. Okay, Richmond, what do you love about Princeton athletics and Princeton, and what has been your sort of biggest challenge since being here?
What do I love about Princeton athletics? I think for my
And coach is right here, so you can say him if you want.
Actually, I think for my team, it's just been watching everybody like alongside grow as I've grown. Like, especially the guys in my class, just seeing how we've just grown throughout like our struggles and our high moments and our low moments. The 3 guys in my class, like how they've dealt with struggle, like personal difficulties, and how we'll be able to just get that much closer. And then like the guys under you, because you're gonna watch them from like freshman, like, and seeing that first jump from freshman to sophomore year, it's always like really amazing. Like, especially like, for example, like sophomore Elijah Barnes, like I think he's made a great jump, like not just like skill wise or like, but just like being more invested and like being more confident and like buying more into like hanging out with the team and stuff like that. So it's always great to see stuff like that. And as far as my challenge, I think it's probably about the mindset, finding a way to stay engaged both in academics and on the court, but like have each one be its own space. So when on the court, can't be thinking about like how you're struggling in academics, and like otherwise, like can be thinking about like academics on the court, because then you kind of lose your focus in both. So I think that's probably my biggest challenge here. But then as far as like advice I would give my freshman self, I'll say don't be afraid to get better now, especially because freshman year I came in, we had a really like senior-led team. We had a 5th-year senior that was coming back, that he was a great player, and then Spencer Weiss, who was there, Stephen Cook, and then we had the great sophomores and juniors, Amir Bell, and we had 20 guys on the team. So it was very easy for me to just kind of become disengaged. Like you're not gonna see that many minutes, so like it's fine if you just like buy less into it. So I think for me, it's like don't be afraid to like get better now. Like put your all into everything like from now. Yeah.
So talk about that as it relates to your academics. Did you have the same mindset as you stepped onto the Princeton campus academically? Like I'm just going to kind of do what I can do, or how did you approach your academics when you first got here?
Like Coach said, my family was all about academics, so I took a lot of pride into my academics and like just my intelligence when I came on campus. And then, as it happens with a lot of students, you have the humbling moment, because you know you're a Princeton and you're not getting the same grades you're getting when you were in high school. Especially like my high school wasn't really too rigorous, and just kind of accepting that for me was not too hard, but it was definitely like a blow and stuff like that. But it was definitely just a different process for me. Just okay, this is what you can do. Like you're gonna give you your best, and this is the results you're gonna have to accept. But you're definitely gonna give you your best at every turn.
So are you pre-med?
Yes.
So talk about how that's really hard, obviously, to manage all of this and to balance it. What's been your favorite class?
My favorite pre-med class.
Or just class in general.
Just
I mean,
class.
being pre-med adds another element to what you do, but have you had a favorite class that you've taken?
Yes, so one of our old faculty fellows, Professor Rachel Ferguson, she's not at the university anymore, unfortunately, but she taught a great class, sociology, called Hustles and Hustlers. And just to give you a short synopsis, it's just about, she did like a lot of graduate work with the university, with Columbia University, with a lot of like drug dealers and brothels and stuff like that. And she really just encompassed it all in a class and just taught it to us, and like the inner mechanism. And I really thought that was like a pretty cool class. So I think that's been my favorite class here.
Awesome. And so what do you want to go to med school right away, or what do you think you're going to do?
I'm probably going to take a few years off, before I go.
You know what kind of doctor you're going to be?
I'm actually split. So I was thinking about orthopedics for like a long time, and I've talked to a lot of like orthopedic surgeons that I've gone through the Princeton basketball regimen. But now I'm actually looking at osteopathic medicine, which is a little bit more like encompassing and holistic and stuff like that. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Great. So Bella, you had a tremendous number of alums back this weekend, and they have a lot of fun. I don't know if anyone's at the women's basketball game. Courtney, you'll attest to this. At one point, Annie Tarachian and Taylor, they actually were the white guys in the suits behind the basket, and they literally made the woman miss 2 foul shots in a row. They just decided to pop up and just start dancing right behind the basket, which was pretty funny. But they were having a great time, and they're so committed to coach, and they're so committed to the program. How does that make you feel as being a Princeton basketball player?
Yeah, I mean, when I started getting recruited by this program, I knew right away that the alumni network was just massive and so important. And you don't really know it until you see it, but we had so many amazing women come back to support us for one weekend, and everyone is so bought into the program, even when they're years removed from it. It's really incredible, and it means so much, and I think that's why people choose Princeton, is because how many people want to come back and really be a part of it, even when they're the class of 73 or the class of 16. It was really awesome. They were all just sitting right courtside, as distracting as possible.
They were doing some heckling. Yes, they were.
Yeah. It was so awesome, and it is really the reason why you choose Princeton.
It was interesting too. You had people from the 70s and 80s all the way up to people who graduated last year, and sort of seeing them all lined up on the court and the commitment that they've had to the program.
Yeah.
And again, a large testament to what Coach Banghart has done to re-engage people who had sort of dropped out from the program, and now they're all in 100%.
Yeah, and they're bought into the program, but they're also bought into the players now. So I know that at any point, if I'm looking for an internship or for a mentorship or anything, I can reach out to any alum, and they will be there right away. They're just one call away. So it is truly incredible how connected they are and how much they care about us and about the program today.
Awesome. Yeah. So Morgan, maybe talk a little bit about your academic setting and what has been your favorite class along the way.
Okay. So I mentioned this already a little bit, but I came in as a pre-med student. I've done most of the pre-med requirements, and then I was accepted to medical school at Mount Sinai. So now I have a little bit more freedom in what classes I take. So I'm a Woodrow Wilson School major, and I'm getting a certificate in the Global Health program. But actually, my favorite class that I've taken at Princeton was writing some, which is kind of a hot take. But I think when I first came to Princeton, my dad was telling me, like, you come here to learn how to think. And I didn't really know what that meant until I took writing sem. So what writing sem did for me is it taught me how to look at things from a new perspective. And I really do feel like that class taught me how to think and how to question what things I hold true. And I think that's not only made me a better writer, but also just a better academic in general. Even when it comes to sciences or when it comes to my Woodrow Wilson School classes, I never really take things at face value. I always dig a little deeper than I ever did before.
Awesome, yeah. And Patrick, being an engineer and balancing everything that you're doing, how do you try to approach that? Obviously, you use the higher standard, and we talked about that a little bit, but being an engineer adds a whole other element to that. And so talk about that, but also some of the non-engineering classes that you've taken that you've really enjoyed.
Yeah, I would say engineering is definitely a grind. There's a lot of like, math and analytical skills that's all up tight in the head, so you get a little wound up sometimes. But proud to have to say my favorite class is actually it was a freshman seminar called Fascism in Cinema, and basically we watched a bunch of Italian cinemas from the 40s and 50s about the fascist regime, and it was pretty enlightening. I actually really enjoyed the class. It was taught by an awesome professor, and it was awesome contrast to the grind of engineering. That can get old real quick. Although I do love it, it is a lot of work, and you need balance in life. So it was definitely good to have both experiences.
Awesome. So talk a little bit about the Cornell match this weekend, because that was you guys have just been, as Coach Ayers said, you've been hitting milestones throughout the course of the entire year, and we had really high expectations for Saturday. Knew it was going to be really, really tough, and it didn't work out exactly the way we wanted it to work out. Maybe talk about what happened. Do you think there was any specific thing, or is it just that they're just so strong at this point, and when are we going to beat them? I just want to know when we're going to beat them.
Honestly, I absolutely do believe that we could have and should have beaten them on Saturday. It was not our night. That's in the easiest way. We were a little zapped, I think, from we've had a tough 2-3 weeks as far as training, and we didn't have the pop that we usually do. But I mean, they peaked, and they might have peaked for the duel. We're trying to peak in March when it matters. So, in the words of Chris Ayers, we still got 2 chances to beat them this year. So we're definitely going to take advantage of those. But at the same time, you can't hang your hat on the one loss. It's just a loss, and life throws you adversity in a million different forms, and your character is determined by how you respond to that, not how you dwell on it. So you really only have 2 options, and that's to sit there and sulk or just one step forward. So
Yeah, absolutely. It was, if Coach Ayers did a Tiger Talk for us a couple of years ago, we would have some of our staff stand up at the staff meeting and just talk about anything they wanted. And Chris was willing to do that. And he showed some pictures of when he first started, and he had a picture of the Princeton team. And we had like 13 guys on the team, and they were much skinnier, all of them, than I am. And they didn't have proper uniforms, and it just... No cauliflower ear. That was the big determining factor. And then he showed a picture of the Cornell team, and they all look like you. They were just like these really strong. There were 50 of them, yeah. So it was this Bad News Bears versus this Goliath, and the crowd was going crazy, because then to see where you guys have come and the growth that you've had over that time has really been remarkable. So we were all pulling for this to be the moment that we actually took them down, but we know we'll get them. We'll get them later in the year.
We will.
We'll get them. All right, good. So we talk about all the time. You guys have all talked, which I love. You all talk about mindset. You've all talked about culture and mindset, and that's a big part of our performance initiative. To say that we're going to focus on the physiological behaviors, but we're also going to focus a lot on the psychological behaviors and the mindset and sort of how culture leads to performance of a team. And you guys have done a great job of talking about that. But talk a little bit about some of the ways you prepare physiologically, or the way you prepare your body for competition. Some of the things you focus on with sleep and hydration, nutrition. Maybe we'll go to Bella. How do you approach that?
Yeah, I guess one of the main things I would like to talk about is lifting. I think coming into Princeton, I touched on this before. I was just really small and skinny, and I was just not prepared for the strength of the other women in the Ivy League and in the NCAA, and that has made all the difference to me. And I think it's a grind. So over the summer, we're really focused on getting stronger. And then throughout the season, there's a focus on maintenance of strength and flexibility and all that. So I think that's been really important to my performance, and I know to a lot of my teammates, and multiple other sports, I think, put an emphasis on getting stronger and getting fitter. So yeah, that's one of the main things. And we have a great program here. We work out with Angie all the time. She's gotten us all a lot better and a lot stronger.
And have you learned a lot about the sort of the value of eating properly and hydration? Does your team focus on that?
Yeah, we put a big emphasis on that. We track our hydration personally, and we are really careful about what we eat. We're all trying to get stronger and be ready to perform at any moment. We practice multiple times a week, so you have to be ready for practice and for games. So it's every day really, staying focused on, drinking enough water and eating properly and getting enough sleep. It's hard to do when you go to Princeton because you have so much work and so many things going on, but if you prioritize the right things, you can perform really well in games and practice.
Awesome. I know Morgan and Patrick have classes, so I'm going to ask Morgan, maybe talk a little bit, one last question before you take off, but talk a little bit about sleep. Are you able, as pre-med and being such a star squash player, how do you get to sleep?
I think it's all about making sure you prioritize sleep. So my freshman year, I kind of let things get out of control and I wouldn't sleep a lot. But over the past couple years, I've made sleep a priority because I can't perform well academically or athletically if I'm not sleeping. So I think it varies per person how much sleep you need. But for me, that's at least 7 hours every night. So even if I haven't finished my work or haven't gotten to everything I want to do, or it's not reached that level of perfection that I'm looking for, I kind of have to settle and be like, I need my sleep or else I'm not going to get anything done. And
do you think that athletes can lead on with this on campus? Because I think that there's a culture of sort of being proud of how little you slept. That's just part of it. Do you think, are the athletes really committed to this and really trying to lead on campus to say it's not cool not to sleep?
Yeah, I definitely think athletes here are in a privileged position and definitely a leadership position. So, people look up to us, like they see us in papers or they see our results and they see us performing well. And so other people want to perform well as well. And so we kind of have to set the example. And if we're not sleeping, I don't think a lot of other people will either.
Awesome. Maybe Patrick, talk about some of the things you do to get yourself in peak physical condition.
Yeah, I mean, diet is huge, and the dining halls are extremely accommodating. You have access to everything you could possibly ask for. Sleep is incredible. She needs 7. I probably need closer to 8 or 9. And it's just different for every person. But like she was saying, sometimes you do have to settle. You need to kind of reestablish where your priorities are. And if it's close to midnight and you're working on a piece set and you're like, well, I got to get up at lift for lift, tomorrow morning at 7. I might just have to go to bed, and then figure out how to work on that piece at a different time. So, but again, it's that time management factor that really allows you to, it almost extends into multiple areas of life. And the physical part is just, one other thing that it's a skill that benefits you in a lot of different areas.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to let you two go, and you guys have to stay for one more minute because you don't have class. But we'll give these guys a... Thank you, guys. One more question, and then are we going to open up to some questions from the audience, or? So Richmond, because you talked about being a Tiger, and that everyone here knows that I'm kind of obsessed by that, and so you brought it up. So now I have to ask you about it. Of the values that we talk about in being a Tiger, which one is the most important to you, or maybe comment on all of them? Maybe not all of them. Just on the one that you like the best.
I think for me, especially since I've gotten here, I've learned just the value of the accountability factor, and just the value of doing make sure that your role is performed to perfection, and how that can impact the overall dynamics of the team, and especially that factor's increased as you become more of a leader, like your junior senior years. I've seen it from the seniors, all the years have gone by, and then now it's my turn as a junior, as I rise to senior eventually. So I've just been practicing that. So I think that's the most important one for me.
Being accountable.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so Brendan, how do you want to do that? You want to anyone raise your hand if you have any questions for these unbelievable student athletes? You guys might be getting off the hook. Where's Henry? He always has a question. Oh, he left. That's why he doesn't have a question.
Did you know that you were the Player of the Week again this week?
Woo! It's kind of old hat at this point, Court. I mean, it's just got announced. Oh, there you go. Way to go. And broke some records and, a couple of things. Yes. On behalf of Henry, thank you.
Hey, Bella, in terms of, you were mentioning that as a freshman, you take your first shot from outside the circle, and if it went in, that was great. If it didn't, you sort of didn't take as many shots from outside the circle. Since coming back from your injury, you're clearly playing a hell of a lot more under the basket. And was there is that all by design, or is that just a mental thing, or the team has changed its game, apparently has changed its game plan to get you more involved?
Yeah, it's partly by design. It's partly because I'm 6'5", so I'm definitely better under the basket. I would say coming back from the injury, I could see where the gaps were, and we needed a stronger inside presence, and I knew I could bring that. And so I think just going from freshman year to now, like I said before, my skill set has really just expanded. If you watch me play in high school, I wanted to pretty much just shoot threes. And once my coaches recruited me and they were like, okay, you're 6'5", like get near the basket, we'll throw it to you there. It really is an advantage, especially in the Ivy League. And yeah, so I think it is partly our offense. Like a lot of it is run through the inside, and if I'm double or triple teamed, I have great shooters around me who can hit shots. And yeah, so I think, and it was also partly a mindset coming back from injury. I had to be really assertive and really confident in myself, and being closer to the basket, I can hit a higher percentage of shots there. So that's kind of where I started, and now as the seasons progress, I've tried to shoot more outside and just expand my game in that way.
Awesome. I have one more, if you guys, if no takers in the audience. Talk about, both of you, because we're just basketball players now, how the Ivy League tournament has changed the sort of focus of the season, or if it has. You know, is it less stressful because you know you get to the tournament? Has it changed the dynamic of how you train? Maybe Richmond, you start.
Well, I think both of us, the inaugural year for the tournament was our freshman year, so we can't quite speak to what the mentality was before we got here, but we can just like imagine that it was like very much about like 1 or 2 games could kill your whole season, and it was very more like stressful. As now, I think, again, I can speak for both of us, as far as like team-wise, you're still trying to win the league. You still always want to win the league, and then the tournament is just kind of like an opportunity for the ones that like dropped a couple games here and there to like get back in the picture and get to March Madness, which is the ultimate goal.
So the focus is to win the Ivy Championship, but you have the second opportunity, if you don't win or if you do win, to go and compete in the tournament and get to the NCAAs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think for some reason my coach is less stressed during the season because she knows we can be 1 through 4 and play for an Ivy tournament title and for the NCAA tournament. But I do know that going into every week, we do want to sweep the weekend, and we want to ultimately win the Ivy League and just, get as many like banners as possible. That's always the goal. But it does allow for, if you do have some bad days and you lose games that you'd hope to have won, that doesn't take away your opportunity at going to the NCAA tournament. So I think it has made the league much more competitive because now anyone can make a run for the NCAA tournament. But day to day, I think the mindset has remained the same. Again, I can't speak to before the tournament, but yeah, our goal is to win out. So
yeah, absolutely. It's made it really interesting, I think, in many ways, because before, if there wasn't as much parity in the league and you got ahead and you sort of had no chance, and now everybody's in it, and so everybody's playing hard every weekend. It used to be that you got to the end of the season and some teams weren't even competing for the championship, and they might give you a little bit easier of a game, and not anymore. The leagues in both the men's and women's are so tough right now. It's so hard to win every weekend. So you guys are doing a fantastic job. I think we're at our time. Yeah, thank you all very much. Thank you, guys.